speaking to the next model we just looked at. We spoke to BCG matrix, and we'll be looking at the next one, which is Ansoff matrix. This model has been tested in one of the recent editions of the... Yes, please.
Before you go, I just want to have this clarity.
Okay.
In terms of, for instance, most of these models, they have drawings. You need to draw something, one drawing or the other.
Graphical representation, something like that. Yeah. Yes, please.
So if we are given a model to assess, and we don't do those diagrams, are we going to be penalized on it?
No, you're not going to be penalized. The diagrams are actually encouraged, but then what is more important is the content of the diagram. So if your diagram is very, very appealing physically or sightingly, and the content are wrong, it's still not going to earn you the mark. So the most important thing is having the content. Whatever diagram you do, whether a quadrant. So for BCG matrix is a quadrant, you just do a box 4. Then I think for Ansoff matrix 2 is a quadrant, 4 components. So most of them that have 4 components, 3, whatever diagram you do resonates with the examiner. But the main thing is the content, what it's the determinants and what is in those models that matter, and their explanation. If you look at some appendices, you see a diagram is drawn like value chain analysis. You see the diagram in form of a pyramid kind of shape. But then whatever shape you use, just make sure your content is correct. And if you can't remember any shape under exam condition, please provide the content. Just state the content in your appendix, and that will graphically resonate with the examiner and get you your marks. The main thing is to get the marks. So drawing diagrams don't really matter. But if you do, it's fine. It shows you understand the origin and what the model talks about, but the diagram don't really earn you marks. It's the content. Good question also. I hope you are okay with that.
Very fine, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. You're welcome. Good questions. A is bringing on good questions. Thank you, AA. All right. So let's go to the next model talking about Ansoff matrix. What's the purpose of Ansoff matrix? Is to identify growth strategies. A business wants to always grow, improve, and do better every day. So Ansoff matrix have come or has been introduced to help businesses grow by analyzing the products of that business and the markets. So the first component of the Ansoff matrix. Yes, please. Yes, please.
You are not sharing your screen. I don't know if it's from me.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Please pardon me. You're right. It's not from you. It's from me. Thank you for interjecting and calling my attention to that. Thank you so much. All right. I believe it's shared now. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for calling my attention to that. So Ansoff matrix, we said the purpose is to identify growth strategies by analyzing products and markets. And one of the components of Ansoff matrix is market penetration. The focus is to increase sales of existing products in certain markets. So market penetration, especially for the quest to increase sales, it's very essential, and that's one of the key areas this component addresses: increasing sales of existing product in existing markets. That's the focus. And also the strategies includes promos, loyalty programs, and competitive pricing. So for example, a coffee shop offering discounts to customers or regular customers is an example of market penetration. It's a promo discount. So these are examples of market penetration. The next component is market development under Ansoff matrix. The focus is to enter new markets with the existing products. So the first one is market penetration, and that has to do with increasing sales of existing product in existing market. But the second one is different. It has to do with the existing product, but going into new markets. And strategies include geographical expansion, targeting different customer segments they have never reached before. So an example is a new or a local bakery opening branches in new cities. That's a graphical example of market development. And the third one is product development. The third component is product development, speaking to introducing new products to existing market. So you can see how the four of them relate. The first one, existing markets, existing customers. Second one, new markets, existing products. Third one, new products, existing markets. So product development is having new products in that existing market where the company is domiciled. So strategies includes being innovative, enhance product features, line extension, come up with new stuffs. So for example, a smartphone manufacturer releasing a new model with advanced features than what is on ground. You hear iPhone 16, iPhone 13, iPhone 14, iPhone 15, 16. That's new product introduction, product development. It's a component. Then finally, diversification is the next component, diversification. That is enter new markets with new products. So you can see the focuses are intertwined. Enter new markets with new products. And strategies include related diversification in similar industries or unrelated diversification into completely different industries. So diversification is a component of the Ansoff matrix. And an example is a car manufacturer could go into producing electric bicycles. Yeah, that's having a new market and a new product for that market. So steps in using this model, you need to first analyze the current position of your product. You need to assess the current products and assess the market. Then identify growth opportunities based on your first assessment. Explore the four strategies based on existing capabilities and the market conditions. Then your risk assessment and evaluation. To consider potential risks and return for each strategy is the next step. Then you select and implement your strategy. That is, choose the best course of action among the most appropriate strategies and develop a plan for implementation of those strategies. Because the benefits is it provides a clear framework for strategic planning if you follow these steps in using the Ansoff matrix. It will give you serious benefits and it helps in understanding market dynamics and growth opportunities. It also encourages assessment of risks in relation to growth strategy. So a practical scenario could look at is a fitness apparel brand that wants to determine how to grow its business. So applying the Ansoff matrix, you can analyze the current position of this fitness apparel brand. For example, the current products could be active wears, leggings, tops, sport bras. Current market could be local gyms for sport enthusiasts. And you need to identify growth opportunities, market penetration, that is increasing the marketing efforts to attract more local customers, offer bundle discounts and maybe free wares to the users in that market to attract more sales or patronage. And market development speaks to expanding distribution from physical to online platforms and new geographical areas. And the product development component could introduce a new line of eco-friendly activewear made from recycled materials. Then you could diversify by starting a new line of fitness accessories such as yoga mats and water bottles. So you need to evaluate risks also. Market penetration could be low risk, and product development and research and development requires more investment. Then market development carries moderate risks due to potential unfamiliarity with new markets. And diversification is the riskiest because it involves entering a new product category. Then you need to select and implement your strategy. So the implementation is very important because the brand decides to focus on market development by launching an online store and expanding into a regional or central fitness expo or outfit. So it also chooses different product development by introducing the eco-friendly line in the next season based on its strategy. So in conclusion, the Ansoff matrix, talking about that example of the fitness apparel brand, can strategically plan its growth while understanding the associated risk, threats, and opportunities. So the Ansoff matrix is a good model to help businesses actually thrive, and is a tool for growth strategy based on products, especially existing and new ones, and a tool for growth and strategies in markets, existing and new ones. So we are giving 4 options. So an example, I could just have a thought on maybe a product in Nigeria, talking about the market penetration, looking at existing product in existing market, promoting existing product in existing market. So for example, Coca-Cola running promo campaigns is an example. They could say buy 2 and get 1 Coca-Cola free, something like that, to increase the sales of Coke in that market. Current market is a market penetration strategy. And for the product development strategies, introducing a new product in an existing market. So for example, Indomie product, Indomie noodles, introducing maybe the new Jollof or Hungry Man Pack noodle for its loyal Nigerian customer base. That's an example of product development. And the third one, market development, looking at existing product in a new market. An example could be the Dangote cement expanding exports to Ghana with the same cement product. It's a graphical market development strategy on the Ansoff matrix model. And the fourth one is diversification. New product, new market. So, for example, in the banking space, UBA launching fintech services in African markets outside traditional banking, maybe going to Cote d'Ivoire or Senegal, something like that. So, key takeaway for you as case study champions is penetrate deeper, is what Ansoff matrix is all about. Develop new products, enter new markets, and diversify boldly. That's essentially, in summary form, what Ansoff matrix is speaking to. All right. So any questions, any thoughts, contributions on the Ansoff matrix? It has been tested, like I said, I think either November 2023 or May 2023. One of those past questions. You could go through it. One Ansoff matrix was tested, I think, once. So any questions? Any thoughts on the Ansoff matrix? Okay, so I'll suggest you go through that past question example. I think we've treated it it's on my YouTube channel. It's there. I can't remember graphically which past question, but please go through the Pathfinders and look at how, I think it was a spicy confectionery market they dealt with, spicy confectionery or something on that model. The examiner brought Ansoff matrix. So please look at it and read the report so it will resonate with you. Okay, so let's look at the next one, which is the 10th strategic management tool, the 10th one, talking about gap analysis. Gap analysis. All right, so gap analysis help us to identify the gap between current performance of a company and their desired performance. And it also helps us to develop strategies to close that gap. So gap looks at where we are and where we want to be. What's hindering us from getting to where we want to be? That's gap analysis. So the components of gap analysis include knowing your current state as a company, access the current performance, your key performance, assess them, and the levels of the organization and the projects it's handling. So the current state, it's very important, or a component of the gap analysis. And in assessing the current state of the company, you need to use quantitative and qualitative metrics. For example, figures, revenue figures, customer satisfaction surveys. And these quantitative and qualitative metrics or analysis will help understand your current states better by numbers. And the next component is the desired state. You need to define the ideal or target performance level. Where do you want to go to? Where are you going to? Where do you want to be? Where are you envisaging to grow to? And that involves establishing specific goals and objectives. like increasing market share, meeting revenue targets, could be goals to get to that desired state. Then you need to identify the gap. What's the difference between where you are and where you want to be as a business? Then analyze the causes of that gap. Could it be bottlenecks? Could it be resource constraints, process and efficiency, inefficiencies? Whatever it is, you need to analyze the root cause of the gap and have an action plan to address those gaps, strategies to bridge the gap, and set timelines and allocate resources for implementation of the action plan. So there are steps to conducting gap analysis. So define the objectives. What do you want to achieve? Clearly state it. Measure your current performance as a business and gather data on that current performance. Then determine your desired performance. So if you're doing 2 billion in sales, you could determine I want to do 4 billion, double. So set measurable goals. That's what it means. Then analyze the gap. What is stopping me from moving from 2 billion to 4 billion? To identify the reasons for the gap and prioritize those areas for improvement. And create an action plan. Develop specific steps to meeting, if it's the 4 billion goal, and close the gap and monitor progress. So the benefits of gap analysis is it provides clarity on performance issues. Very important. So clarity and goal congruence will help you to be able to understand gap analysis and be able to employ it better in achieving the goal, using it practically to be able to do better. And one essence is that clarity is very important on any issue of performance. And another benefit is facilitates strategic planning and resource allocation. So gap analysis helps you to strategically plan and allocate resource very judiciously. And it enhances decision making through structured analysis, written down well-structured analysis. So a practical scenario, for example, a software company aims to improve customer satisfaction ratings, which currently maybe stands at 70% with a target of moving to 90%. So the application of gap analysis is that the current state is 70% satisfaction rating. The feedback indicates issues with response times, TATs, which is turnaround times, and maybe product futures. The desired state is 90% customer satisfaction rate. So specific goals includes, to address this 90%, includes reducing response times to under 24 hours and enhancing key product features. So the TAT should be within 24 hours. And you identify the gap. The gap is 20%. So analyze the causes or root causes. Slow response time, which is the challenge, averaging 48 hours. So you need to limit that product's functionality. So the action plan is to improve customer support, implement a new ticketing system, for example, to streamline responses, or introduce AI response, AI customer support or something, or hire additional support staff to address this challenge. Another area to solve this issue is to enhance product features, allocate resources to research and development to prioritize the future request that is lacking based on customer feedback. Then you set timeline to achieve this. Aim to achieve a desired within maybe 6 months. And in conclusion, by conducting the gap analysis, you see that the software company can systematically address performance deficiencies and implement targeted strategies to enhance customer satisfaction, culminating in customer loyalty, and ultimately aligning current performance with its desired objective. So that's, in brief, what gap analysis is all about. And in summary, gap analysis is, in short, comparing an organization's current performance, like we said, with its desired performance to identify gaps and bridge the gap. So this gap analysis, we use it unstructuredly or in an unstructured manner in the diagnostic business space where I work in my last field of assignment. You could use the diagnostic center in Nigeria as an example, who maybe have a current state of an average patient TAT. TAT is a turnaround time, which is 2 hours. TAT means the time you come to do a test and the time you collect your results. So the TAT could be 2 hours, but it could be reduced to 45 minutes. So we could say the current state of that diagnostic center is 2 hours TAT, but their goal is their desired state is 45 minutes TAT. And the gap is 1 hour 45 minutes, which is too long. So actions could be around investing in faster lab equipment, high-tech lab equipment, improve workflow, and train staff. So you see, they've have an action, and implementing that action is very important. So the key takeaway on gap analysis is that where we are versus where we want to be is what gap analysis is all about. Bridge it with strategies or with a strategy. Simple. So that's gap analysis in sum. It has not been tested in any of the 22 diets yet. So that is gap analysis in summary. Any question on gap analysis or contribution or any thought on gap analysis? I think it's a simple model, my opinion. Okay, I think it's simple enough. We'll run to the next model, which is business capacity analysis. Business capacity analysis. Okay, so the business capacity analysis model is a model that assesses an organization's ability to meet current and future demands based on its resources, processes, and systems. So, like it said, business capacity analysis, you are analyzing the business capacity of a company. Capacity is ability to do. And that's very important because the capacity of the business determines where it would grow to and where it could reach. And the functions of that capacity is based on its resources, processes, and systems. So areas of focus in the business capacity analysis talks about production. For example, a company that deals in producing goods from raw materials to finished goods stage. So production is an area a company could lack capacity. And the human resource area are areas where a company could lack capacity or build capacity. The technological area, the financial area are focus areas in business capacity analysis. So the component of business capacity analysis talked about first component, capacity measurement. Capacity measurement, looking at the current capacity. It's necessary to look at how much the organization can produce or handle with its current resources is the current capacity analysis, looking at components and the capacity measurement. Secondly is the maximum capacity, the upper limit of production or service delivery, the upper limit. What's the seal? What's the last they can do? Topmost capacity, volume wise, machine wise, is the maximum capacity. And capacity utilization talks about how efficiently the current capacity is being used. Are they underutilizing their assets? It's often expressed in percentage and numbers. So the capacity utilization is important. Underutilization or overutilization, that analysis is necessary. Then the demand forecasting, estimating future demands based on market needs and trends. Sales forecast and historical data is very good in understanding capacity analysis. So I need to identify if a business can meet future demands with its current capacity or if it needs adjustments or upgrades of its equipment to meet those demands. And gap analysis would help foster business capacity analysis because you need to identify gaps between the current capacity and the future capacity or future demands of that company and determine if there is underutilization, that is excess capacity, and overutilization, insufficient capacity. Another area is resource allocation to assess whether current resources, workforce, human resources, technology, tech savviness, IT, equipment, fixed and production equipment, capital resources are sufficient to meet anticipated demand. So resource allocation is very important in business capacity analysis. And identifying areas where additional resources are required is key. And in optimizing strategies, capacity expansion is a strategy that could help address some of this business capacity analysis, especially on underutilization. You need to add resources. Overutilization, I beg your pardon. Capacity expansion in areas of overutilization could be, in addressing it, add resources. Example, engage new staff, upgrade machinery, or buy new and current state-of-the-art machinery, or invest in technology to increase that capacity. So very importantly for business capacity analysis, process improvement is necessary. Streamlining processes to enhance efficiency without adding new resources could help build that capacity. And also, outsourcing could help in business capacity issues. Could utilize external providers to manage demand surges or fill capacity gaps. Outsourcing is good and could be leveraged on. And steps we look at in conducting business capacity analysis talks about need to access the current capacity first. Gather data on existing operations, existing performance levels, existing production. Assess the current state. Then forecast demand. Use sales and revenue figures and market data to estimate future demand. Then compare capacity to demand. Identify whether the current capacity can meet future demand or if adjustments are necessary. Then develop a plan or a strategy for managing that capacity, whether by expanding, optimizing, or reducing the resource allocated. And the benefits of business capacity analysis are it ensures that an organization is neither underutilizing or overextending its resources or capacity. So the benefits of doing this analysis is to bridge the gap and make sure you're doing as you're supposed to do based on your capacity. And it helps in strategic planning, resource allocation, and cost management. It also identified bottlenecks or inefficiencies in operations. So that's it in brief about business capacity analysis. And in summary, the conversation around business capacity we spoke to is it examines whether an organization has the resources, the systems, and processes needed to meet current and future demands in simple terms. So it helps identify underutilization or overutilization in the sense of overstrain on either equipment, human capital resources. So for example, an airline industry, let's say maybe Air Peace has a current capacity or fleet, airplanes that can serve 20 domestic routes daily. So the current capacity is they have 20 domestic routes daily and the fleet can serve 20 domestic routes only. But the demand and maybe passenger bookings for those flights suggested the need from their current demand for 25 daily routes. So you can see that the capacity gap falls short of 5 routes. So what could they do? They could take action by maybe leasing additional aircraft, optimizing their scheduling of flights, or form a code share agreement between other airlines or something like that. So in summary, a key takeaway on the business capacity analysis is that you ask yourself as a business a question on, can we deliver demand with what we have? That is essentially a question that needs to be addressed with the business capacity analysis model. All right, so that's in brief on business capacity analysis. Any question? Also, this model has not been tested, so there are potential areas that could be tested. Any questions on business capacity analysis? Any questions? All right, I seem to be fast because I want us to run. Okay, so if we don't have any questions, let's look at the next model. And I think that will be the last model we'll be looking at on the strategic management tools. That will be the last model on the strategic management tools. And this 12th model is called resource audit. Resource audit. Okay, so resource audit, the purpose is to evaluate an organization's internal resources and capabilities. So just like the name is resource audit, you want to evaluate, assess the internal resources and capabilities of an organization or a firm or a business to determine how they can be leveraged for competitive advantage. How can you use these internal resources as a competitive advantage and a strength for that company? Have a niche around that is what resource audit is all about. So the focus areas on resource audits are physical resources, talking about what is available at the disposal of the business in form of assets, physical assets, most importantly, and financial resources, capital at the disposal of the business. And we have human resources, the personnel doing the job and all that, and intangible assets, intellectual property, the goodwill of the business. So these are focus areas on resource audit. The components include looking at the physical resources, talking about assets, infrastructure, building, machinery, equipment. Also resources around current assets like raw materials, stock, IT assets, and technology. And these are physical resources that could enhance or could use to perform resource audits. We also have human resources talking about employee skill, the knowledge, the expertise, leadership and management, strategic, tactical, down to operational leadership. Organizational culture and team dynamics are areas of human resource that we could use for resource audits. And we have the financial resources, cash reserves, investment, credit facilities, revenue generation capacity and profitability are areas of financial resources. Budgeting and financial control mechanisms, forecasting and the likes are all financial resources at the disposal of a business. And also intangible resources, speaking to brand reputation, market positioning, customer loyalty and relationships, organizational know-how, that edge they've carved for themselves, and intellectual property, talking about patents and trademarks. The capabilities are processes that link resources to output. So the process leads to a product, and those are your capabilities as an organization. And operational efficiency, innovation, and adaptability, and also the supply chain and distribution network and efficiency are capabilities a business could carve a niche around. And the steps to conducting a resource audit based on these resources is to list the key resources at the disposal of the business and identify the most valuable. So having these resources, whether physical, human or human resources, intangible, tangible, whatever resources need to be listed, to be able to identify the most valuable across the different categories we spoke about. Then you need to assess the resource value, determine the importance and uniqueness of each of those resources, consider it contributive to the competitive advantage. What's the contribution of such resources to the business? And you need to evaluate the resource strengths and weakness. Identify which resources are strengths. For example, strong branding could be a strength, skilled workforce. And which ones are weaknesses? Maybe outdated equipment, needs upgrade, limited capital in form of equity or debt could be a weakness. Then you need to benchmark the resources, compare resources to competitors to assess how well the organization is doing. So benchmarking and seeing how you're doing in that space or that industry is a way to audit yourself, resource audit. Then you leverage strengths and address the gaps. So use resource strengths to build competitive edge or niche and develop strategies to improve weakness and address threats or underutilized resources. The benefits of resource audit is that it provides a clear picture of what resources are available and how well they are being utilized. You need to identify the organization's strategic, advantages, and potential for growth. This is very, very important. So, resource audit has benefits and it helps in decision making regarding resource allocation, investments, and process improvements. This is very important. So, resource audit is good. It's also a model that has not been tested. And you must understand that it's a review in summary of an organization's either tangible and intangible and also human resources to assess the strengths and weakness. The tangible and the intangible, and also human resources to access the strengths and weakness of an organization. So tangible talking about physical and financial resources, intangible talking about assets that can be seen physically or touched. The human resources are the personnel to assess the strengths and weaknesses is what resource audit is summarily about. So let's use a Nigerian bank for an example to buttress this model. Let's use, for example, Access Bank. Access Bank's physical resources tangible are its wide infrastructure, expansion, and branch network all over the country, and also its strong IT infrastructure. So the physical resource of Access Bank is that intangible, tangible wide branch network and strong IT infrastructure we could use. So when doing resource audit or a question is presented, you could use these components to address it like this. And the human resources of Access Bank could be its skilled workforce, an experienced management team from the board of directors to senior managers to tactical middle managers to lower end or operational managers. So the skilled workforce of Access Bank could be used for resource audit. Then for financial resources, the strong capital base from mergers over time. Latest merger was with Diamond Bank, and equity raising of Access Bank is a financial resource of the bank. Then intangible resources of that same bank are strong brand reputation and customer trust. That may not be able to be quantified in monetary terms. So those four components, physical resources, human resources, financial resources, intangibles, could be a resource audit for that bank. So a clear takeaway is that resource audit, you need to ask, what do you have in your toolbox? Or what do you have as a business? What do we have as a business in our toolbox? Tangible resources, intangible resources, people, money, brand. You could audit yourself resource-wise, and that's essentially what resource audits are all about. Okay, so this model also has not been tested, and it's a potential model. So pay attention and also read it again, and it will resonate with you. So any questions on resource audit, which is the last model out of the 12 models we've looked at in the strategic management tools? We have 12 of them, and we've exhausted them in these sessions. We have had 2 sessions so far, so we've exhausted them in the 2 sessions. And the next one will be performance management tools or performance management models. So we have the strategic 12 of them, and I think performance is about 5 or 6. And because of time, we have less than 5 minutes more. I think we would need to stop here so that in the next class, we'll have to jump to the performance management tools where we'll be able to, I think, round up in that class on this topic. So any questions, contributions, observations based on the 12 models we've looked at? Any questions? Okay, so I believe we're taking note of which of the models are tested, as I keep speaking about the ones tested, the ones are not tested, so that we can still go back and revise them and get ready, get prepared, so we don't get taken unawares, and will be, at least if you're ready and you understand some of the components of this model, you'll be able to provide some thoughts if a scenario comes like that. One of the biggest or challenges of candidates in the ICAN case study is expecting the unexpected. Let me use that phrase, expecting the unexpected. ICAN exams are full of surprises, so you need to be well prepared. Don't isolate any topic or any model and say they won't test this one. You'll be surprised that they may test it. So please stay adequately prepared, stay ready, and it doesn't take much. It's just to understand the model and try to memorize it, not cram it. Try to memorize it and understand the context of where they are speaking from. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the first area of strategic management tools. So we'll stop here. We have 4 minutes to go so that we can go to bed on time. So if you don't have any questions,